The core focus of Vectorworks 2019 is quality. However, not just quality of the software itself, but also the quality of life of the user. We took into careful consideration common workflows and regular usage patterns, and tried to select features and improvements for this year that would make something that you already had or already did even better or easier than it had been in the past. This deceptively simple feature has the ability to save you time in a number of different ways. The first and foremost, what does image effects do? This feature allows you to take an image or rendered viewport in your drawing, even viewports rendered in previous versions, and instantly apply an array of various color and light balancing options. Unlike camera effects, image effects don't need you to re-render the viewport or wait for a lengthy processing period. They're nearly instantaneous. We can select either a viewport or a bitmap. This will work on resources as well, so we'll be able to go into the resource browser and apply these images to textures, image fills, Vectorworks backgrounds as well. To enable image effects, you simply check the box here near the bottom, and then to edit them, you click Image Effects. A preview window will appear. If this isn't large enough, you can grab this and improve the size even more. It'll expand to as much screen as you've got. You can also find this in the right-click menu when you're editing viewports. It'll bring you to the same place. These effects like contrast, saturation, and sepia work all fairly instantaneously. Not only is the preview instantaneous here as well, but as soon as we click apply, those changes apply right to the image immediately. We don't have to wait, we don't have to do anything. And I can turn them off again. So that source image is still saved. We haven't deleted it or overwritten it at all. Then if I check this box again, it'll bring up the same settings that I applied before. They'll be remembered per item. And as a little side note, this effectively allows you to create black and white renders. You can simply reset this to the original, set saturation all the way down, and you have a grayscale image without having to change lighting, textures, without having to export to a different option. And it's a little bit different than the black and white only option that you might be used to in Vectorworks. However, you can get something very similar if you turn the contrast up very high and turn the saturation down as well. You'll get a much more stark look to it. And again, reset will bring you right back where you were. But we didn't want to stop there. We wanted the 1.0 version of this feature to have more than you might expect. So we integrated image effects into the eyedropper tool, allowing you to pick up and apply the same set of effects applied to one item to another with just 2 clicks. So for instance here, if we adjust the temperature of this and give this a very warm look, apply that, we could then simply go to the eyedropper tool, go to the settings, and then we'll just take image effects. There we are. Pick up the image effects from this one and place them on another. And it doesn't have to be the same image either. You can do this with multiple different objects from any source. So the image effects set is the same, even if you're going from an image like we are here on the right to a viewport on the left. It's the same image effect settings being applied to both. Even further than that, if you don't want to just manually copy them from one to another, in image effects, similar to how we did the publish and DWG interfaces, there's a saved setup here. We've included a few defaults as well, like I showed you earlier. There's a few sepia tints and a few pre-configured warm and cool settings here that'll give you some control. And you can manage these and add more of them or save them as you like. We'll simply go to active settings, revert, and for instance, if we want to have an inverted one, we can simply save this as inverted colors. There we are, apply, and that'll be available anytime we come into this menu later. So even again, if we go to the viewport, even though we modified an image before, we'll be able to summon that inverted colors option back up and apply it immediately. And any level of complexity that I use here can be saved that way. It doesn't have to be one of the defaults. However, the main purpose of it was this. We wanted to reduce or completely remove the number of times that you needed to step out of Vectorworks, whether you had to step out of Vectorworks to wait for a rendering to recomplete, or if you had to export to an external application like Photoshop or GIMP in order to edit just slight changes you wanted to make to your file. We saved you having to export the image, editing it in Photoshop, resaving it, and then bringing it back into Vectorworks, because if you made another change, you'd have to apply that afterwards. Those image effects will stay. So if I go into this viewport, for instance, and I change some classes and layers, and I update that viewport, those image effects will stay. So I can remove classes and layers, and everything will maintain the way I want. So once you apply a set of image effects, they'll stay for the duration of that viewport or that object's existence. And again, where this really saves time, changing things, even like these 3 examples in the middle here. A very cool lighting on the left, a very warm lighting on the right, and a very popping contrasty in the center. These would have been 3 completely separate renders before, and they took about 15 minutes each. I would have had to wait over an hour in order to do all of these separate renderings, and I was able to do this in maybe 4 minutes. Simply duplicate that same viewport and apply image effects to it. And just one more quick thing before we go. We wanted to clarify what soft edges does. So in image effects, you can see we have the soft edges here. What it does is it takes the edge of the image and applies a transparent gradient to the edges of it. But we didn't want that to just be for square images either. So what we've done is made sure, on the top 3 here, you can see the crop is visible. And you can see the hard crop showing the shape of these crop objects. A standard square crop, a relatively common circular crop, and then the more special case custom polygonal crop for it. Soft edges will work with any of those cropping options. So you can see here, we can select a cropped viewport, edit the image effects, turn that up just a little bit more, and get a very nice traced effect that we can use to overlay this or composite it with other images as well. This is the first of many features we hope are going to save you a lot of time and make your life better in Vectorworks 2019.